All right, we are recording. So yeah, not an assigned reading video, but something else, something that it's been on my mind for a while, and I finally, more or less by accident, found a perfect example to use. So I'm going to use it. So, as the title says, on the decline of science fiction in Star Trek. But first things first, this is the galaxy AM 1054-325 from the Hubble Space Telescope. I kind of like the image of. There's some nicer images, I will grant, but when looking at it, it occurred to me it kind of looks like the Star Trek logo, if like the badge insignia, if it were straightened up, kind of looked like that. So it's like, ooh, I should use that one. Okay. So as I said, on the decline of science fiction in Star Trek, which I noticed this last time I watched through the Star Trek films that I have, which are 1 through 11. So that's Motion Picture, Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, Voyage Home, Final Frontier, Undiscovered Country, Generations, First Contact, Insurrection, Nemesis, and it's mainly these four that I want to focus on, and then there's Star Trek 2009, which also is an example, but let's just throw that away for the time being. But yeah, across Generations, First Contact, Insurrection, that's what we're specifically going to look at today, and Nemesis, you actually see a decline in the science fiction of Star Trek. And there's multiple examples of this, mainly in not Generations. Like, you take that here, and then you see the next ones are actually stepping down. Like First Contact, half that movie is set on a quasi-modern day version of Earth. So the people are consistent with what we see today, no aliens. And also their technology is consistent with what we see today, or rather, at the time that movie came out, in the mid-90s. So it's like, yeah, half the film is not science fiction, it's a drama on ground. I mean, true, they are working with technical stuff, but some of it is like, you might be able to pull that out of a car, and it's like, that's just what the prop is. And I got other issues with First Contact as well, but mainly I'm focusing on that stuff. Nemesis, again, you have a portion of that being set where they're actually like roughing it in a wilderness type area, so again, not really science fiction there. You have hacky sack in it, which was very much a, yeah, let's put it in there because kids know that. Kids are playing that today. We should have that in there. That will attract kids. I think we all laughed at that because I was in school at the time, and yeah. Anyway, but there was something else I'm going to show you specifically in a moment. And then Nemesis, you've got a dune buggy that I'm pretty sure was, again, the whole, people like dune buggies. That's interesting. That's exciting. Let's do that. It's not Star Trek, though. You've also got in there, and it annoys me so much, that they have Dr. Crusher use a microscope on the Enterprise E's sickbay in there to look at a blood sample. The problem is not that she's using a microscope. I don't care that it's a microscope. What I care about is it was a real microscope. It's like this was legitimately something you could buy, and it was used as a prop, the same style microscope used as a prop in Stargate SG-1, which was set modern day. This was supposed to be a normal piece of equipment that a hospital or lab would have that you could buy. And that's on the Enterprise E. That is hundreds of years into our future. But come back to Nemesis. Let's look. This thing in Nemesis, which the audio doesn't really matter, which is why I'm going to have one ear uncovered, but it's like I want to be able to hear it because, recording it. Computer, access! Wait, hang on. Oh, wait, no. You will hear it. I actually won't, so I forgot to set that up properly in OBS, but in any case. Computer, access manual steering column! Transfer helm controls to man... He wants to manually pilot the Enterprise. Okay, that's fine. In fact, we've done stuff like that before in TNG with the LCARS system. That's actually what they call the thing that's on how the interface is. It's a really silly system. It looks good on film, but for practicality, I think it makes no sense. But anyway, but instead of that, he's called for manual control. So we're not tapping on a screen to do it. No. The column comes up, and we get this joystick. Which, will this actually work? No, maybe not.
Computer, access manual steering column.
Practice, but yeah, that is joystick with a trigger here, thumb button there. I'm not sure if there's something on top, but I mean, it's at this movie came out in, what was it, 96? Sorry, 98. You could go out to Best Buy that day and buy one of those things, probably. I mean, not the whole console that it's coming up on, but the joystick was, you could totally just go and buy that anywhere. This is Star Trek. This is a grand starship that has the capacity to cross the galaxy, to engage with myriad other ships. And we're using a frickin' joystick. It's like PlayStation 4 controller. Steam controller. It's like, true, these didn't exist at the time, but it still was this has more technology. This is a more advanced technology than that thing has. Because at least these are touch panels. It's just an advanced mechanical design for the triggers, but, the DualShock 4 touchscreen. I think that this even has, both have haptics in it. It's like, these are more advanced than that. All right, and that's supposed to be hundreds of years in the future. Now, let me show you something else that was also part of my childhood. Turn that off.
Now if I can only steer it.
This is a scene.
No way, Jose.
I really hope I don't get things. And I'm not used. But there. So he's just saying whoa here. So we are on a spaceship again. This is a drone ship though. Like the little floating ball thing. His name, gets named Max, but he does identify that he is part of the ship, and it is a drone. It's a drone ship, so it's not supposed to be all that impressive. He's got nothing on the Enterprise E. And this is from 1986. This is also technically an independent film. I was looking at the trivia for it the other day when I watched it. And yes, it was originally going to be an independent film. Disney got the distribution rights for North America. Which is why I'm really hoping I don't get in trouble for using... I shouldn't, because at 10 seconds long, that is supposed to be short enough for fair use, and certainly I am providing commentary. This is an example of fair use, absolutely. I also need to put that in the description to make sure that I am specifying, yes, this is fair use, is only intended as fair use. But he is now piloting the ship. What did he do? He hit a control, and what comes up? Yes, he gets things to come up, just like Riker did, but look at these things. This looks like science fiction. Like, these two things just float up. Yes, they're on bars, they're not actually floating there, but he has his hands on them, and it's just... I don't know if you actually see them moving forward and back much, which would be for, like, controlling speed, but he moves them up and down. He moves them out and in, so he can control the movement of the ship. So it's like he's able to just have it glide wherever he's moving his arms. Like, if he were like this, and just going like that, in order to control it. I mean, true, the outstretched arms would get tired, but this is so much more interesting and intuitive than a frickin' joystick. And it's also, I mean, this is 1986 independent film. Ninth film versus the ninth film in the Star Trek franchise. I had to remember, because it's only, Nemesis is 10 and it's only the one before that. So ninth film in that franchise that started on television. There would be many hundreds of hours of content leading up to Insurrection, leading up to that moment, and so much technology that has already been established in this universe, and many, many, many millions of dollars that are at your disposal, and you use a joystick. Why did they do it, though? And I think this is the reason why. And it is also kind of the whole difference between 1986 and 1998. So 12 years apart, which is actually a little funny because the character that we see here is supposed to be 12 years old. I just find that a little funny, that coincidence. But I think that this decline in science fiction that occurred, and yeah, I can turn that off, is because people forget that you don't need to try to have things relating, physical things. You don't need to have this, and I'm going to move my camera back to center. Will it let me? There we go. You don't need this. You don't need to show somebody on this playing in order to express to somebody in a movie that, oh, they're playing a video game. You don't need this. You could use any number of other objects. You could even just have the person there and add some nebulous control, but because they're transfixed on a screen, and you could have flashing lights, that's all you need. You don't need to ground it, which I don't even think this counts as grounding, the whole joystick thing, to have people understand what's going on. And also, grounding it doesn't bring people in, doesn't make it interesting to them. And that's really the larger issue that I have with some of this, is that I do think that they put the joystick in because it's familiar. People will look at that and be like, oh, I know what that's not the people who care about Star Trek. Okay, the people who care about Star Trek, like me, aren't, yes, the idea of piloting, taking manual control of a starship and piloting it ourselves. We want that. That's awesome. That'd be so cool. But we're expecting it done in a Star Trek way. Not a joystick that I can buy and use in any flight simulator on my computer. Not that way, but something more interesting, something that is natural within the Star Trek universe, like we had with Flight of the Navigator, where these two things come up and you pilot it that way. And it's also, this is Star Trek, they have hologram generators. In theory, it could be a holographic model of the ship, or even a rig that a holographic rig that you put into, like a cockpit, to control it that way. That gives you more information. Because when you also think about it, you've got a view screen, that's it. View screen. I mean, if you're wanting to manually pilot this thing, you'd want like full 360. So using a hologram, that would be so much more sensible if you were to actually have this exist. And that's part of it. Part of it, again, is with Star Trek, you have an established universe. You have an established set of technologies. You're not using any of them here. You would have certain things develop naturally within that universe because it would be needed. It would be necessary. But nope, not going to use any of that. Going to go with the joystick. But I also want to add on this, which is something that there is nuance, okay? There is a wide spectrum of possibilities here. But I do think that some people neglect to understand that this is a truth. Definitely true for something like Star Trek and other franchises. When you have a fan base, when you have that community, I think at that point you need to not cease to worry at all, not give up any concern about it. Yes, you should maintain some concern, but at that point it kind of ceases to be a reason for you to, as the creator, to seek new fans. Okay, the community exists. You can let the community work on growing the community. You don't need to do that. You need to feed it the content. You need to give it the things that the community wants, which isn't a joystick. It's not a joystick. You just feed the community what it is that they want. And feed, I know, is not really the best word, but it's like continue to produce the thing that they want and has brought them together as a community. Let the community worry about growing itself. Okay, putting that joystick in there isn't going to attract new people to Star Trek. A good movie will attract people to Star Trek. A good television show will attract people to Star Trek. Right? That's if they just randomly see it. But let's also be real. The way somebody who isn't familiar with Star Trek might not have an interest in Star Trek. What would get them to go and see it, aside from just, I go out to the movie every week? A friend telling them, hey, let's go see it together. I think you'll like it. Let the community grow itself. Hey, but there's also one other thing, and just a moment. This is again one of those convenient timing things. There's some stuff sitting on my TOS set, but I just ordered. This is the TNG Blu-rays. Deep Space Nine DVDs, because they've not brought it to Blu-ray. Voyager. Again, DVD, but Voyager wasn't that good. Deep Space Nine is legitimately probably the best of this series after the original series. I also have Enterprise, which is worse than Voyager. But it's like, part of the reason why I ordered these is not just because I love Star Trek, which is true. It's also because I want to be able to share these one day. And I got it. Well, yeah, I guess I can sit in front of them. But yeah, I mean, it's like I want to be able to share these someday. It's like I will do what I can to help build the community, but it's going to be around this stuff because this is the good stuff, right? Well, and I do have the original series. It's just over there with some stuff on top of it. Because that's actually in a permanent place. This stuff isn't, but here, this is the good stuff. These are both good, okay? Let me be clear. These are both good. Deep Space Nine, though, I would say is better because it is more consistently good as far as the episodes and all that. TNG, it has some that are out of the park good. It also has some where it's like, can we get through this? I was like just going through for processing the stuff to put in my server. I was like seeing some of the episodes, like, oh yeah, that one's a good one. Like Cupid, that's a good one, but it's good because it's fun. But another one that's really good. I don't remember which season it's in. I'm pretty sure it would be in this first set because they have split. The Wounded. Okay, I mean that for those of you that don't know them by name, that's the one with Miles O'Brien and his former captain, who is attacking and destroying Cardassian ships. It's that one. That's a fantastic episode, and there are also many equally fantastic episodes in here. But it's like this has some. I mean, it's just more variability in the quality and good of the episodes. This. A little bit less variability. It has some that are out of the park as well, but I'd say an average is like up here, whereas the average for this might be a little bit lower, but it also has some that it's so high, so awesome. But yeah, as I was saying though, I'm a fan, so I got this stuff so that I can be a fan. Like it actually was prompted because the reason I purchased them is actually because of this. I had seen that Voyager was only available from a third-party seller, and it's like, uh-oh. I want to make sure that that might mean that they're going out of print. So it's like, okay, I'll order it all because I'm not just ordering Voyager. All right, I'm not going to do that. It's not as good. It's the weakest. Well, second weakest. Enterprise is the weakest in my opinion. But it's like it's broadcast Star Trek. I'll take it all, and I will pass it on. I will share it with people, and I will extol the virtues of these and the weaknesses. I'm going to be honest with all of it. But it's like, let me do that. Don't think that you need to take that away from me. As a member of this community, not a very active member. It's not like I'm on forums and message boards and such. But it's like, I want to do that. I will do that with friends. I would do that with family. You don't need to put things into these films or television to try to attract other people. It's like, I can take care of that. When it's an established brand, you do that first off. But it's also, you still need to make sure it's a good movie, a good television show. You do that, then it's like 90% of the work is done. But then after that, it's like, okay, the community exists. That's the hard part. We'll grow the community. You keep giving us the good stuff that makes us want to be a community. But yeah, because I mean, it's Star Trek has been done dirty. I don't even look at the stuff that is in the broadcast. I just hear about it. I read things about it. And it's like, no, and no. Well, that was kind of it. And as I said, yes, because you do have a lot of science fiction through these. And by the way, to be fair, there are times when it's like reversing the polarity. It's like, that's not going to actually do anything. That wouldn't affect this result. I mean, it's like, yeah, someone gets a little hand wavy, someone gets into fantasy, but come on. This is 14 seasons worth of content here. 4 for Enterprise. It's getting really annoying. And 7 more for Voyager. Like, there's a lot of content there. You're going to have some things where you screw it up. Like, I also have Stargate that I ordered as well because, again, I was seeing a secondary seller. It's like, there's one episode in particular that it's completely, the science fiction that is completely in contradiction to the rest of the series. It's still a good episode, but that does happen. Right? But it's like, I kind of lost my point because I'm just like, that stuff does happen, but it's still, you have to keep the spirit of it. And I see some of the stuff, it's like, they don't know what the spirit of it is anymore. And they're just like, oh yeah, this is a Star Trek thing. Like, it's Enterprise. That makes it Star Trek. That makes you want to watch it, right? It's like, No, I want to watch it because of good stories, and I like the science fiction. It's like, what is this? It's not that good, is what the answer is to this. Whereas The Next Generation, okay, that tells us, hey, you're trying to continue. It makes sense. It had been off the air for so many years. But Deep Space Nine, think about that. Deep Space Nine, does that tell you anything that's Star Trek? No. You watch it, though, and it's Star Trek. And you know, and fans will tell you how it is. I'll also tell you how it isn't, because that's the beauty of fandom. We can disagree. Alright, this video is already plenty long enough. Star Trek, its decline started before modern Trek. It had started before that. You can see it in First Contact, Insurrection, Nemesis. I gave you one example. There's plenty more. And even Generations, I know people got issues with that. I'm not entirely sure of all the reasons why, but it's all after that. You definitely see the decline, which is sad, but is what it is. Anyway, this is long enough. See you next time.